good. I'm better now that I see you.
Yes, I can see you too.
How are you?
I'm doing fine, doing fine. You?
I'm hanging in there. How's things in Texas?
It's fine. People are acting like quarantine is like a dead thing and COVID doesn't exist anymore. But other than that, it's okay. Hot.
Right, hot. We're about at like 70 degrees here in North Jersey, New York City area. So it's
Okay.
nice and calm and calm.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. Nice and calm in the 70s.
Yes. So I just want to have an awesome conversation with one of my favorite artists, one of my favorite people, somebody that I have grown to love and admire over the years. Um,
You.
and, and and let the people get to know you in a different light, off the stage. You have so many things going on, your wife, your mom, as well as being an international performer. So I just want to let everybody in. Uh, yeah, I just want to let everybody in
Okay.
to who Nicole Heaston Lane really, really is.
All
All
right.
right.
Okay.
So can you tell us where you grew up, where you from?
I grew up in Chicago, Illinois,
Okay.
even though I've been living here in Texas for 20 plus years, it's still my home as far as I'm concerned. I love Chicago.
Okay. We love Chicago. So when did you move to Texas? What was the journey from Chicago to Texas?
Well, my journey was, I didn't start off wanting to be an opera singer, and I
Okay.
didn't think that that was going to be my life. I thought I was going to be an attorney. My father was an attorney, and I thought I would follow his path. But when I went to high school, I went to Kenwood Academy, and Dr. Lena McLean was my teacher. And she
Yes.
said, she made her a prerequisite for her class that everyone had to sing classical music. It didn't matter if you wanted to sing jazz or gospel, but you had to sing. I mean, literally, we all had to do it. So she had me enter competitions, and I won like the NAACP AXO competition twice.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, maybe I can go to college and try this out. So that got me on a path to going to the University of Akron for undergrad, and then eventually to the Cincinnati Conservatory of Music. Now,
Wow.
what brought me to Houston was my last year getting my master's. I auditioned for the Houston Opera Studio, and that brought me here. And the first year I was here, I met my future husband, and so that kind of kept me planted here because he works in the oil and gas industry. So I stayed on in Houston.
Fantastic. So for some of our viewers who may not know who the great Lena McLean is, can you just tell us about her, who she is, the legendary status, composer and pianist and teacher? Like let everybody know who the great Miss McLean is.
Okay, Miss McLean was the niece of Thomas A. Dorsey, the person who wrote Precious Lord. Now, Miss McLean grew up at the knee of Martin Luther King.
Wow.
And she was a woman who, one, she still is, I say was, but I mean, because she still is,
Yeah.
a very religious woman, a very talented woman. And
Yeah.
she was one of the teachers in Chicago. Like, we had a couple of Black music teachers in Chicago that made public schools just become all of a sudden like academies
Yeah.
for great artists. The people that went to my high school, Mark Rucker graduated from my high school, Jody
Wow.
Lattimore graduated from my high school, Mandy Patinkin graduated from my high school, and they all came under the tutelage of Dr. Lena McLean. Now, Miss McLean, I grew up with her. When you went through her choir, this is the great thing I loved about it. So when you went through her choir, we sang pretty much all her music.
Wow.
We sang Christmas. It was all of her Christmas rap, and her Christmas music was better than stuff that you'll hear on the radio. And I hate that, we're in a state where we can't get access to it the
Yeah.
way I did when I was in high school. But Mrs. McLean made sure that we learned the classics, but we did her music as well. And so she definitely put us out there to sing classical music, but even singing her style. Even if we sang a gospel song she wrote, she wanted it to sound with an operatic tone. She didn't want
Yes.
she said God does not listen to people who scream at them. She just wanted she didn't play, and she was tough. Mrs. McLean was a very short woman, but
Yeah.
she had so much power and strength in her, and she earned and garnered respect from everyone in her choir.
Yes.
She was a phenomenal pianist. She was a phenomenal teacher. She was a
Yeah.
phenomenal composer. And you know, everyone she touched, and she would look at you and she'd say, God has this path for you. She would tell you who you were, and she would always
Uh-huh.
be correct.
Wow. So she
Yeah.
sounds like also like a mother figure to so many.
Oh, she really was. And it was a blessing, especially for people who didn't have mother figures who did
Yeah.
support them. Because, you know, a lot of times, especially for Black males, a lot of times people will kind of brush them off and say, oh, you don't need to be a singer. You know, you need to go play sports or do something like that.
Yeah.
She nurtured so many young Black men and helped
Yeah.
them find their voice.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you, Miss McGlynn. We love
Yes.
you. We love, love, love you. So when did the opera bug hit? And did you go into it
I'm sorry, I
willingly?
got lipstick on my tooth, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay.
Let me check too. I think I'm all right.
Exactly.
So when did the opera bug hit you? And did you go into it willingly, or was it like pulling teeth to get you to sing?
Uh,
Opera?
it, it did. It really hit me once Mrs. McLean brought it to me.
Okay.
I was at school, and you know, was in the Chicago Children's Choir for a long time, and I sang second alto. And I was the Black girl. I sang at church, so when it came time for solos, I always auditioned for the gospel soloists. And when it came time when I got to Kenwood, Mrs. McLean looked at me and she said, "You're a soprano and you're
Yeah.
an opera singer." And I was like,
Yeah.
Black people don't sing opera. And she turned around, she said, "Turn around and look on the wall behind you." And there
Yeah.
were pictures of Leontine Price and
Yeah.
Matilda Dobbs and Shirley Barrett. She said, "They are Black and they sing opera. So you do
Wow.
too." And it was a shock to my system. I was like, okay. And she gave me an aria to learn. And once I started singing and realizing that like I had won the NAACP AXO competition twice.
Okay.
Well, I was like, if I made money doing this just on the competition, maybe I could make it as a living. And so I still was not like completely on board, but I was like, this is a path I think I can go through. I've loved music, you know, I love
Yeah.
singing. But once I got to the University of Akron, the very first opera we did was La Traviata. And I was just a chorister.
Yeah.
But I remember putting on this green and black off the shoulder dress and putting a feather in my hair
Yes.
and realizing this was everything I needed to be.
Were your parents supportive of your choice to sort of leave the law path and go to the artist path?
My mother was, because my mother, she was a classically trained pianist. And that was going to be her path until my father decided to go to law school, and she dropped out of that
Uh-huh.
profession to go to be a music teacher. She needed to
Yeah.
help support the household while he was taking the bar and everything. So my mother was always one who just clearly saw it. Like
Yeah.
there was times where I would doubt myself. Like if I did a competition, I'm like, man, I don't think I did that. And my mother was like, oh no, you won that. I was like, they haven't judged it yet. She said, they can always tell from the first note, and your first note was perfect. She's like, and she would always know, and she was always supportive. My dad, he was like, you need to get another degree. You need to get an education degree or something.
Yeah.
This is not a way to make a living. He couldn't see it.
Yeah.
But when I was a junior, I did they had a major production of The Magic Flute, and I wasn't one of the main cast. They gave that to an upperclassman. I was a sophomore. No, I was a sophomore. That's what it was. And my dad came with my mom, and they were sitting in the balcony, and I sang. And when I finished my aria, my dad looked, he was like, she's good. And my mother was like, I know.
I told you
point,
before.
Exactly. Finally getting on board with it.
After Cincinnati, then what happened? Where did you go?
After Cincinnati is when I came to the Houston Opera Studio.
Houston Opera Studio. Okay, so what was that process like of getting into one of the leading young artist programs in the world? What was that like?
It was interesting because for me, I was young and oblivious to all of it. I saw it as an audition poster that was on the wall at CCM.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, this is the next step. You know, I think you have, I've been told that either you go on and get an artist diploma or a doctorate, or you leave and try to get into a studio program.
Yes.
So when I left, it was myself and maybe maybe 4 other singers that came from Cincinnati. And we came down to Houston, and we had to go through an audition process. And that audition process consisted of us having coachings, of us singing for the staff,
Okay.
also participating in the Eleanor McCullum competition. Now, I participated in the competition, and I came in 3rd place. and I
Okay.
also won artist favorite. But another colleague of mine from from Cincinnati had won first place. And so
Hmm.
I came home and I was like, well, that was what it was. You know, I got third place. I doubt they'll ask me into the studio. And then I got a phone call and they were like, yes, we would like you in the studio. And I realized that it wasn't how good I sang. It was all of those things combined. The
Yes.
coaches went back and said, she can work well. She listens to direction.
Yeah.
You know, she's flexible. She's not someone's like, oh, I can't do it this way. I only do it that way.
Yeah.
And it was all of those things. And I had no clue that when I was down here doing all of this, the
Yeah.
amount of eyes that were watching and taking notes to everything I said and did.
Yeah.
And that's what
Wow.
got me into the studio.
Amazing. Amazing. And that's a message for young singers today. It's not always about winning first place,
No.
but it's also about remaining coachable, remaining teachable,
Yeah.
remaining professional, and
Yes.
just waiting for the right door to open at the right time. That is amazing.
I think I was 23.
Okay.
And I'm 23 years old, and I'm making my debut at a major opera house as Juliet.
Amazing.
It was
Amazing.
insane.
Wow.
Insane. But it was when we came in, my studio, my class was really, really great. They had two of everything. So it was myself and Janinah Lattimore, who I reconnected from growing up in Chicago with her.
Yes. Hey, Janinah.
Yes, hey, Joe. And then Beth Clayton and Jill Grove, John McVeigh and Gabrielle Gonzalez, and Eric Owens and Frank Hernandez.
Wow.
And it was a very talented group of singers.
Yeah.
And they trusted us very much to give us very good assignments. I think the first year I did the Romeo and Juliet. I think that was the year I also did one of the Elders and Susanna.
Yes.
And I can't remember we did an opera by Ricky Ian Gordon. That year we had Joyce DiDonato was added, as well as Stephanie Novacek.
Wow.
And when we did that show, I think it was like there was a financial issue going on at HGO. I mean, I think just in Houston. And so David Gockley entrusted a major production to pretty much all studio members.
Yeah.
We were all, Eric was the rostro, I was Pamina, Joyce was second lady. That's how we rolled. And the only two people who were brought in were Ray Berry, who was a former studio member to sing Tamino, and Mary Dunleavy, who won first place in the Eleanor McCullum.
Mary.
Yes. We killed it. Our show was, I'll tell you, the best three ladies I've ever heard anywhere who were funny and sounded great with Joyce, Janinah, and Stephanie. I put them here above people I've worked with at the Met.
Yeah.
I mean, I sat there, I'm like, that was the best.
When I did my first Young Artist program in Chautauqua, I was the only person of color, the only Black person in the entire studio, and there were 16 of us. So tell me what it was like to have such like a diverse group of people.
It felt good, and it was really kind of surreal because honestly, I hadn't experienced that any time after I left Houston. I mean, I came out of college, and college was, diverse enough. I had enough, I had a lot of diversity at Cincinnati, and not as much at Akron, but at Cincinnati I did. So for me, it just felt like kind of like a college experience. I had Black people in my studio. I had Latinos. I had all of that. Things went very quickly for me, but I will say one thing, and I always tell young singers this, that when I did finally leave the studio, it was like this wall hit me. That first month when I stopped working at Houston Grand Opera and didn't have a place to go every day, I remember sitting in my room just feeling kind of depressed, like, what do I do now? I have no place to go. And it was a haunting quiet that I hadn't felt because pretty much you go from kindergarten all the way through graduate school.
Yes.
There's somebody always telling you where you're supposed to be and what's going on. So that was an adjustment, but I loved the fact that I was able to get up and go. I had a lot of work in Europe, actually. And just to go to Europe and travel and see things, I'd bring my mother along with me. And, and it was great. It was weird being the youngest a lot of the times when I would go to jobs. I remember being in Dallas and singing my first Oscar And I remember Gordon Hawkins was there and Sergei Leverkus, and, and I'm sitting there and I'm feeling like I'm 10 years old, and everybody else is like these professionals. And I'm like trying to learn and listen and,
Yes.
writing everything down and being very diligent. But, now the tide is turned. I come in, I'm like the matron of the group.
Not older, just better.
Yes.
In the past, it was sort of expected that you went to Europe to make a career and then sort of be embraced and invited back to your own home in America. And you're one of the singers that I know personally who has made a giant footprint in Europe. So did that happen with Maestro taking you over there and then you develop relationships with other places and people just got to know who you are? Or did you do a big European audition tour or an agent set it up? How did the European track for you happen?
I really didn't do a big European tour. I was lucky enough that I think my second year when I was in maybe my first year, one of the years I was in the studio. No, I know what it is. It was my first year. Because we did the opera Four Saints and Three Acts, and we took that to the to the Edinburgh Festival.
Yes.
And when we were there, Galetha Nichols set up auditions for us to audition for Carter Singer of the World.
Okay.
I had no idea what that was, but Galetha said to try out for it, and I was like, okay. And when I went and auditioned, I got the chance to represent the United States.
Wow.
So I went back to that the following summer, and that was a really huge step because the Carter Singer of the World was like American Idol before American Idol.
Sure.
Especially in Europe, because in Europe it's like shown on every television all over Europe. So you're getting a chance to sing in front of the orchestra. You get to sing art song and arias in front of some of the best opera singers who are being the judges for that day. So I got a chance to have a lot of opening with that. And the other thing that was a big thing for me was my second year in the studio. They did a new piece called Jackie O, and David Gockley saw the wisdom of making this Black girl Jackie O just a few months after Jackie O died. So that brought a lot of eyes upon me, which was good.
Wow. Okay. So how were you able to handle such a thing? Like, she's an iconic being, a huge personality, and America and the world identifies Jackie O in Chanel, and very pooled, and the wife of. And so how did you sort of manage taking on such a great role in a title role in a piece, in the role of an iconic white woman?
Well, luckily the way they staged it was like we were going through a happening. It was like I come to a place, and so I'm a Black girl, but then I take upon the persona of Jackie O. But still, for a lot of people, it was hard. This was Texas. And there were some people that walked out of it. It was some people that, couldn't. My father had to walk into the performance, and he would loudly say, "My daughter is singing the role of Jackie O," because he didn't want to hear any mess around him.
Come on, Daddy.
Yeah, no, he was not going to hear it. He didn't want like somebody just say that by accident. No. So it was difficult, but it brought a lot of recognition, and they made it into a CD. And for some reason, in Europe, it is so popular. I mean, the first 10 years of my career in Europe, people would come like, "Can you sign my copy of Jackie O?" And I'm like, "Really?"
Wow.
Very popular. So that all helped.
Well, kudos to David Gockley for having the foresight and for lack of a better word, the bravery to put a capable, talented artist in the role.
Yeah.
He was known for doing cutting edge things like that.
Yes,
He's
definitely
one of the great impresarios of our time. One of the things that pops out is the Metropolitan Opera. People scan through and say, has she, did she, will she, is she, and when is it going to happen? Yeah. So how did you end up in the house, as they say?
I ended up in the house because I had done a house audition, and my agent said, they want you to come and cover Elia in Idomeneo.
Yes.
And so he was like, it's going to be okay. He said, you go in, show them what you got, and they'll come with a contract later. And I said, okay. And I was pretty much fresh out of the Houston Opera Studio. And when we covered, we sat in on rehearsals.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that that's not how things worked at the Met. And so I came into every rehearsal. No one ever kicked me out, but no one looked at me. And I remember sitting there, and I was trying to be like, hey, and people would just kind of walk by me because they knew I wasn't a principal artist there. And I was like, okay, until I was working, and all of a sudden, and Aunt Sophie Pont Order walks in, and she says, Nicole! And the whole room just went, they turned around, and they were like, oh, we just worked together in Aix-en-Provence. So I was like, yeah, what's up? And then everybody wanted to know who I was.
Of course.
But I sat in on every rehearsal, and I wrote down everything, and I went home. I was covering Hey Kung Home.
Okay.
I wrote down everything. I practiced every night because I didn't know what was going to happen, when
Yeah.
they popped me into a rehearsal, whatever. So the very first rehearsal I had, they said, Nicole, we're going to go through act 1, scene 1, and we'll just stop, and then we'll just keep going. And I said, okay. So we started, and we got to the end of scene 1, and I kept going. And then they kept going. The next rest it came, boom, I kept going. And then finally we stopped, and they were like, how do you know all of that? I said, I've sat in rehearsal every day. What have you been paying me for?
Right, it's my job.
The next day, my agent got a call saying, would you mind covering Susanna in the afternoons and covering Elia in the mornings? I was like, sure. I know Susanna like the back of my hand. So once I went in and did that, then I got another house audition, and they gave me my debut of Janinah in Don Giovanni.
Influences, inspirations, operatic inspirations. Who were some of those for you, either growing up once you started, like in school, and then did those inspirations change, or how did they sort of expand once you found yourself at Lincoln Center?
I think one thought, because growing up, I really didn't listen to opera. I listened to classical music, but I didn't listen to opera until I got to college and I started listening. And the voice that immediately spoke to me, because it was more similar to my voice, was Kathleen Battle.
Yes.
I thought she was just everything I needed to be and more. The voice was beautiful. She was beautiful. Her languages were fantastic.
Yeah.
I listened to her and loved it. But when I was auditioning for graduate school, that was when I had went to the Met. I was going to Juilliard to do an audition, and I went across the street to the Met, and I picked up an Essential Leontine Price CD.
Yes, the big red box.
Yes. And I put that DVD in my DVD player, and I listened, and it just it consumed my whole body.
Yeah.
Hearing that voice. And I started crying, and I was like, I can't do this. This is, there's no way I'll ever sound like this. But, now that I'm, older, I realized I didn't have to sound like that. I needed to sound like me.
Right.
But that inspiration of hearing her, another inspiration for me was always Mirella Freni. I loved her voice as well, and Vida Sayao. Those were voices that really spoke to me. But Leontine was one of those things that was just like somebody who was above me that I could just look at, as an inspiration.
Yes.
But, yeah.
Absolutely. So Tiffany Jackson is in the room. Hi, Tiffany. And she said, please ask her to do it. And I believe she's talking about when you saw Leontine Price's United Negro College Fund commercial.
When I saw that commercial when I was a child,
yeah,
I knew it was special and interesting, but I still did not put that woman with the woman I heard later.
Wow.
I didn't really know her as Leontine Price. She was just the woman from the United Negro College Fund commercial.
Yeah.
And I just knew, looking for a dream that's vanished tomorrow. I was like, hey, it was, we're not asking for a handout.
Yes.
So I don't even know what that sounds like, but
see, and you pop, and that's the right key too, because I'm a.
It's in my head. Because I remember it from when I was 12 years old. It was forever.
Amazing. Leontine is everything for me. She's just like a crown is just on her head. I just love
Yeah.
her so much. So tell me, what are some of your favorite things to sing? Because I think a lot of the people in the industry know you for early music, for Mozart, for Handel, for like being a part of bringing the Baroque operas back into, popularity.
Hmm.
So tell me about not having to go sort of the regular route. They like to sort of pigeonhole, I find, the black girls
Oh,
into a certain track. You
yeah,
know,
exactly.
you're singing Michaela, you're singing Liu, you're doing this and that, but you flourished and did amazing things with Handel and with Mozart.
I really contribute the handle to Mark Minkowski
Okay.
because when he first asked me to go on tour with him, I was kind of, coming out of the college situation, you always heard Baroque music and it was always a straight tone.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not really how I sing, especially coming out of college. You're all about, even vibrato and, you wanted to have all of this warmth and resonance. And he told me, he said, no, he said, that's not what Baroque music is. It's
Mm,
about being expressive and using straight tones and using different little techniques to be expressive for the words in the text, but it's not
right.
a straight tone. And when I was on that tour, Jean-Paul Fouchécourt, who was an haut tenor,
Yeah.
I think he's one of my favorite voices on the planet. And listening to him sing, I think Sound the Trumpet, and just hearing how that sound came in Véronique Jean, hearing them sing Baroque music where it was still warm and had all of this interesting, things you can't do in Mozart's, things you can't do in Puccini, the way you can
Right.
bend your voice. It made it so interesting to me. And that's when I fell in love with that. And I was like, this is what I want
Wow.
to do. And because I had all of this background, like I did an Armide recording with Mark, I had all of this, I had all this history all of a sudden to say, she does this. So that's how people accepted me.
Nicole, the career woman.
Mhm.
Let's talk about when you met your now husband and the decision to have children. Because in our industry, it's I believe harder on the woman
Oh,
to
yes.
sort of sustain this career after and during pregnancy, and then being a mom and wanting to be home and raise and develop that closeness and relationship to your small children, and having a solid family and not giving up your career. So what did that start out for you, and how do you continue to do it so well today?
Well, for me, there was never a point in my life where I said I was going to sacrifice being a mother for my career. God gave me a talent and a gift,
Yeah.
but I also feel he gave me the gift to be a parent. And
Yes.
so I didn't want to sacrifice one for the other. When I met my husband, I met him here in Houston.
Okay.
It was a very strange, very incestuous type of story because my my current sister-in-law was my quote, you know how black folks have cousins. She
Yes.
was my cousin growing up in Chicago. Her
Gotcha.
father and my father were best friends. They went to high school together. And when I moved to Houston, she helped me find my apartment. She, all of that good stuff. But her husband was the bomb. Like when I met her husband, Shelly, I was like, man, that is a man. I was like, that is a good husband, a good father. She said, well, if you like him, you need to meet my brother-in-law, Stan. I was like, no, I'm dating this other guy in Chicago. We're gonna work this out. And then after
Yeah.
6 months, I was like, introduce me to your brother-in-law. And when I met him, I immediately knew that he was the man I was supposed to marry. It was
Wow.
no doubt. And he went away the same way. He went to work that evening. He was a security guard at the time. He went and told his friend, he's like, I met the woman I'm supposed to marry. And both of us were with other people. But we ended up breaking up with those people. And he decided, and I had one more year in the studio. I already signed my contract. And he was going to go to law school, I think in Indiana.
Okay.
He called Texas Southern University where he was getting his undergrad and talked to some of his professors and said, can I go to law school here? Because I need to stay with her. And once he did that, I was like, wherever he lives, I live. And so that meant I stay in Houston because he made that sacrifice for me.
Wow.
Now, when it came time for children, like I said, that was a no-brainer for me. And it was the whole thing of like trying to pace it out and figure out when I would do it.
Yeah.
And I actually was pregnant when I made my Metropolitan Opera debut.
Wow.
And I announced it to my parents after my debut at the after party.
Wow.
That's how I announced it.
Wow, wow, wow.
And
So
so
how far along were you at that time?
I was like maybe 8 weeks, six,
Okay,
8 weeks.
okay.
It was very, very, very young. But and the thing is, both of my kids were conceived around the Met. My son, I was working during Ariadne at the Met, and when Ariadne was going on, that was when I think it was Hurricane Rita came through here, and it was after Harvey. Not Harvey, sorry. What's the big one that came through and demolished New Orleans?
Oh, Katrina?
Yes, it was after Katrina. So everyone freaked out when Rita was coming. So my husband, I said, you need to come. Morgan and I are here at the Met. I was doing Ariadne. I said, you need to come with us. I don't want you to get stuck or anything to happen to you. He came and he left. And a couple of weeks later, I was on one of them stilts because I was singing Echo, and I felt queasy. And I was like, I don't feel right. And then I went home, took a pregnancy test. I'm like, oh, I'm pregnant. Both babies were conceived in Manhattan.
Well, I see that one of our colleagues, Janinah Burnett, is here, and she said that was the same situation for her when she found out that she was pregnant on stage too. That's amazing. So did you find that or how did it affect your voice singing while pregnant and then after?
I found, and I will tell this to any singer, any woman who wants to get pregnant, sing throughout your pregnancy. Someone told that to me, and I'm glad I did it because your voice will change. My voice got warmer and darker and a little weightier with each child.
Okay.
But the thing is if you don't use your body and use those intercostal muscles, when your body is all changing like that, and sing and grow with it, if you just all of a sudden try to jump, like stop singing and then try and jump back in, it's going to be a hard road. I mean, I've heard people who their voices just completely fell apart because their bodies had changed, and all of a sudden they tried to sing with the same technique that they had before. Yeah. So I sang throughout. I mean, I made a huge mistake with my daughter because I had scheduled to sing my very first Despina in Dallas. In Dallas. And it was 6 weeks after I gave birth. I thought I was so bad. I was like, I got this. I'm going to sing all the way up through. I'll have this baby. And I literally went blind on that gig. Went blind. That's what I said. I would never do it again. I had rehearsals, and I was tired. I had a newborn. I was sleeping and like for the first time in my life, I couldn't remember what staging was. It was like we do staging, and the next day I come back and I'm like, what do we do? And I never forget staging. But one day we had a rehearsal, and I told my mom, I said, Mom, I'm taking a nap. I'll wake up before the next rehearsal. She came running in. She's like, Nicole, I forgot to wake you up. You got to leave for rehearsal. And I just jumped up like this, and then everything just went black. And I was like, I can't see anything. But I'm so stupid, I still went to rehearsal. I could see a little bit, and I drove to rehearsal, and I sat there, and I still couldn't see. And I was like, guys, I really can't see anything. And they were like, well, you need to go to, an optometrist. And so, again, stupid, drove to an optometrist. But by the time I got there, I could see. And he said, because you were so tired, and you just immediately jumped up because that surge of me being nervous about being late for a rehearsal, my blood pressure shot up and I lost my sight. And I said I would never do that again. So when I had my son, I made sure I had 3 months. And I think I went back working at the Met, actually, after I gave birth to Julian. And that was a completely different experience. My mind was clear, all that. I thought I was going to be first-time motherhood. It was a bad decision. Still sang well, did everything well, but I was tired. It was horrible.
Well, I notice now with my amazing female colleagues who are moms navigating the industry now, a lot of companies are amenable to helping and making the work environment conducive to being a working mom. Did you find that when you had your kids, because your kids are teenagers now, right?
Yeah, they're 16 and 13. I actually did have a pretty I mean, I would say it was a little bit of both. When I was in Dallas, Jonathan Pell was the general director. He used to come in during intermissions, and I would have a blanket over me pumping while he was talking to me, giving me notes. you know,
Wow.
and they were
Yeah.
so cool with like, do you need a room, to do your thing? They were very helpful and very nice on that. So I didn't have that much of a
Amazing.
problem with it. I did, I think the main issue was that sometimes when people saw that I was pregnant, that they thought I'd given up on my career, which I thought was
Hmm.
ridiculous. Because I was like, you know what? These other male singers can have kids and their wives will follow them around and they'll bring their kids to rehearsal and they'll be everywhere. And
Right.
you don't have a problem with them coming back to work and saying that they're serious about their craft.
Yeah.
Never do I come into a rehearsal and I'm not prepared. Never do I sing poorly because I'm tired. I mean, I was doing Pamina at the Met, and I remember my daughter was up with an ear infection that entire night before. And that was when I really realized that all those singer hang-ups of like, oh, I need, wife is singing for phlegm, and well, I need to have a scarf. I knew that was all bull, because once couldn't take any drugs because
Right.
I was breastfeeding, and I stayed up all night with sick children and could still get out and spin high B's. I was like, all of that's craziness. So at that point, it totally released me from that drama. So I'm like, if I know I can do this, why do
Yeah.
you think all of a sudden because I have this child, I can't? And
Yeah.
see, my children don't know anything other than the life that I've given them. And they've been supportive.
Absolutely.
My husband's been supportive. They don't know no better.
That's amazing. So do they go and see the shows that you're in when you have to leave, or are they with you for a certain amount of time while you're away? Or, is it like, mommy, please don't go, or, what?
It's all of
It's
that.
all of that. Okay.
I mean, they do get a chance to come see me. We kind of have a deal in our house that we don't go any longer than 6 weeks. And a lot of
Gotcha.
times European gigs are longer than 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So usually, I mean, my husband has a good job where he can afford it, where they'll come stay with me for a while, especially like if school is out or if it's a break or something. And I remember I was working in, I think it was Denmark, and the lady who was the stage management person, she was very strict. But when my family came, somebody said, hey, why don't you take your kids down on the side of the stage? And I was like, no, I don't know if I want to do that. I said, I don't want to upset her. And then she looked and said, no, bring them. And she brought a chair and sat it next to the console. And Julian sat there the entire show. And I would hear calls and say, Miss Heaston, your son is going to the restroom. Miss Heaston, your son is back. But he wanted to sit and watch it from the wings because, he was
Wow.
restless sitting out in the audience. I've
Yeah.
had opera houses be so great about sitting in on rehearsals. And so they get a chance to really see what I do.
Hmm.
And they
Hmm.
appreciate it. When I was working in Norway, when I was doing Alcina for the very first time, they had these parkour dancers and they had a stunt coordinator. And my son is hyper as the day is long. And he's the guy, the choreographer saw him and said, he come with me. I'll stay with him. And my son was like 6. And I said, okay, bye, take him. And Julian was doing flips with them. He sat on the stage with the director and told him he didn't do that flip high enough. And he was like my assistant director. I've had great experiences, but I've also had moments where my kids have been like, Mom, please don't go. Don't go.
Um,
And sometimes like I'll hear my husband have a talk with them. Like if it's like a really important job that,
mhm.
because some things I'll turn down and be like, no, I can't do that. That's my kid is graduating from this, or this is happening. I can't do that. But if
Gotcha.
it's something that, is not that serious going on, but where it's really important to my career, I've
Hmm.
heard my husband say, we have to support mommy. This is what we do. And so, and then they'll come back and be like, Mommy, it's okay. We'll come see you. And I mean, you can tell they're kind of hurt, but they get that this is what I
Oh,
do. And so just like now, I say, I got an interview with Kenny, so don't come in here. you know, they respect that. Because like I said, they
yeah.
don't know any better. This is what their life has been.
Well, cheers to having a wonderfully supportive spouse and
Oh,
partner in this. That's amazing.
yeah.
That's a
Dan is the
beautiful
best.
story. Beautiful story. So there was a question that went by.
Mhm.
Do you have advice for young singers who are trying to navigate their way through the European circuit, being away from home and foreign languages and all of that stuff? How do you navigate being not only away from your family in America, but across the pond?
I would say, I'm going to tell you, you guys got it so much better than I had it. You all have FaceTime. You have any type of video conferencing ways where you can stay in contact with your people. And I
Yeah.
say, do that as much as you can. It's different. It's not as intimate, but it's something. Literally, my husband and I used to communicate via fax sometimes. You
Wow.
know, we would like send each other little love notes with like, you know, what do you call it? Where it was like secret letters and we'd have like a little code cue. That's
Yeah.
how we used to relate.
Oh.
So, but when it comes to the languages, I would say this, and this is something that I really hate that I didn't get a chance to do, because so many people, when they go do FEST programs, FEST programs will give you the opportunity, and not even give you the opportunity, they make it so that you learn German and probably Italian and French, depending on what house you're in. Absorb that and learn those languages. It makes it so much easier when you're dealing with other colleagues. Because, you know, I work and my French is good. And I remember the first time I worked in France, I was nervous about it, even though I had been speaking it since I was in 3rd grade. And I got to a point where my colleagues were just like, we're not talking to you in English anymore. Your French is good, trust it. But I get nervous. So that's just my hang up. So I would tell anybody, get over that hang up, learn those languages, because they'll default to English for you.
Yeah.
But you're missing little things. And
Yeah.
it'll be better. And it's also a courtesy to you're coming into their country and speaking their language, at least some of it, you know, even if you're not fluent, coming in and really working on this. I would say focus on those languages like nobody's business.
Yeah. The documentary, one of the reasons that we're here, the main reason that we're here
Yes.
at Black Opera Film, you made a wonderful donation to the project. And I wanted to ask you why.
It's really 3 reasons why I gave. 2 are very valid. The 3rd one is very selfish.
Okay.
The first one is, I truly believe that there needs to be a movie about these people.
Yes.
You know, there have been a lot of documentaries on Miss Price, but you know what? To have something about Simon Estes and Martina Arroyo and Jesse Norman, you know, to have them about all of these people who are legends, who all have a story to tell.
Yes.
You know, in this time that we're in right now with, you know, everything that's going on with our culture, as hard as we are hurting right now, think of how it was in the 60s, in the 50s, in the 70s, when these people were going through it. I want to hear their stories of how they persevered and succeeded.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think it is so important for them to have their stories told on the big screen, not something that, you know, that's put on something real and something important. The second reason is I think it's important. It'll be an important piece of film for young singers to see, not just Black singers, white singers. Yeah, because the thing is, like I said, I had no idea who I was looking at that in that United Negro College Fund commercial. Only thing I knew of opera was Luciano Pavarotti. That was it. And that was just because you saw him everywhere. You knew his name, whatever. Pavarotti. Everybody knew who he was. But people need to know who these people were. The third reason is, for the amount of money I donated, I was getting a poster signed by all of them. And I want that on my wall.
Everybody, please follow Nicole Heaston Lane. She has a Purple Robe series on Facebook and Instagram. She's amazing. She's fabulous. Thank you for joining us.